Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Lisbon Investment Society's podcast Crunch the Numbers. My name is David Tita and I will be your host for today as we dive into the world of finance. The purpose of our show is to share information in topics related to our line of work and hopefully interest more people to learn about finance. Later, we'll have an important guest joining us, but for now, we'll start talking about Izeg. As most of you know by now, last week Izeg made its first appearance on the Financial Times ranking by having the 31st best masters in the finance course in the world. By all means, no small feat. In addition to this, in average, students almost doubled their salaries in the first 3 years of work, and Izeg was considered the best school in Portugal in value for money, meaning the graduates recovered their investment in education very quickly. Having 3 institutions in the top 50 certainly proves that education in Portugal is exceptional, and the volatility in economies and markets just comes to prove how important it is that education adapts and reinvents itself to fit a new reality. Open minds for a changing world, as they say. Following this topic, today we'll discuss how it is the market for finance graduates and how can one thrive in this new environment. As such, I now introduce our guests, a person skilled in equity research and corporate finance, co-owner and CEO of Finance Academy, Marta Calvário. Hello, Martha. Welcome to our show. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hi, good morning, David. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Can you tell us your journey from college until today?
Well, my journey from college until today, well, we're talking about more or less 15 years. So I got my bachelor's degree in business administration in Portugal at Catholic University in Porto. And then I started working even before finishing my studies in BPI. In the corporate banking division. I got a position as a junior analyst, but actually I was there like 1 year or so, 1 year and a half. And then I would say that the Erasmus experience I had at university actually brought me the will to have another international experience as a professional. So I came to Madrid. I was like 23 years old by that time. Actually, it is funny because when I was a kid, I came to Madrid with my parents, and I had this dream of living here. I don't know why. So I came, and I actually started as a equity research analyst at BPI as well. So I moved into the investment banking, which was a nice step when you're junior because you learn a lot. And I started my master's in finance in Carlos III University here in Madrid. Then I had another curious experience here in Madrid when I was studying a master's because someone came once and told us what was the CFA program that I had no idea what it was. And I had a very good opportunity to participate in a finance competition that actually exists nowadays. That is the CFA Research Challenge. And the team where I was won the final in Spain. Then we went to the European competition, and we actually went to New York to play the global final. So with this experience, I realized the value of the CFA designation, and that actually could study it after my master's. So back in 2008 or something, it was when the CFA adventure starts for me. I kept living in Madrid. Almost all my professional life was here. Within BPI, I then moved from investment banking to corporate banking again. So I had a broad experience within the bank in several departments, which I actually think were very important to my professional life. When I finished my master's, I started teaching at university. I think it was another important milestone for me. I have the opportunity of teaching and mentoring students. I was there more or less 5 years, having this teaching experience. And then after I got my CFA charter back in 2013, I got promoted at BPI. to deputy country manager in Spain. And actually, it was a key milestone for me because I started to have other type of responsibilities, deal with different kind of departments, not only focus on financial analysis or company valuation as before, but actually having a more management role. I actually highlight two things from that time. That is the opportunity to develop my soft skills, and also there were times to improve actually your network, starting to speak with more people and develop more professional relationships. And then there was a time to change. That would be like the third thing. So the first thing is that I studied in Portugal, then I came to Madrid, and then there was a time to change. Why? Well, actually, I was like 14 years in BPI. In the meantime, my personal life made a 180 degrees change. I was a mom. And there was a time that when there was the CaixaBank acquisition to BPI, there was an interesting window of opportunity, and I decided to leave and embrace a new challenge. So now here I am as a co-owner of Finance Academy and currently managing the project as a CEO. It was a huge step to move from the corporate banking world into a startup challenge, as you can imagine. Well, I had the luck to go back into the teaching world. That is something that I love, and get a position as a professor here in Madrid, Universidad Autónoma. Well, where I teach banking courses. So yeah, this is like my 15-year journey till now.
Well, I personally think it's very interesting, honestly. When I was reading your profile, I did not know what to expect, but honestly, even if I did expect anything, it exceeded it, certainly.
Thank you.
Do you mind telling us a little bit more about your company?
Yeah, of course. Well, my company is called Finance Academy. Okay. What is Finance Academy? Okay, is first of all, it is that new challenge that I decided to embrace, to take the risk. No, Finance Academy is the official preparation provider for CFA exams in Iberia. So, what does this mean? Okay, what are the CFA exams? So, CFA designation is a professional certification that is considered a golden standard in the financial industry worldwide. Okay, it's one of the most prestigious professional designations in the whole world. I'd say that is a true passport for someone willing to work in the financial industry. Then there is another issue that is it meets the high ethical standards regarding the investment profession. And it is a lot demanded and increasingly in the last years. The thing is that at the Finance Academy, we follow the CFA Institute guidelines to prepare candidates for these exams. Okay, so it is not an easy exam. The pass rate is below 50%. And in the whole world, there are some like 170,000 people with the CFA charter holder. Actually, in Spain, we are like 800, and in Portugal, I think we are not even 200. So it is not easy. You have to have some study method to go there, and we are there to provide that method. We are there to explain you the syllabus, and we are there to increase your chances of actually passing the exam in your first attempt. Right now, we're present in Spain, Portugal, Latin America, teaching live and online courses. We also partner with B2B markets, I mean, with companies, universities, to provide, the best training to CFA candidates. Okay, and actually, what is our mission? What is our aim? Is to actually become the reference preparation provider of all Portuguese and Spanish-speaking CFA candidates, because, of course, in the world there are a lot of providers, okay, internationally speaking, but we want to focus in these Portuguese and Latin markets, okay? We are receiving a huge demand for our online training platform, which was completely designed by CFA charter holder. And it's curious because what happened is actually, we are a group of CFA charter holders that decide to raise Finance Academy. And we all faced certain difficulties when preparing this exam by our own and wanted to build something, okay, that candidates can have, which is a CFA preparation course, totally thought that people can study at their own pace, having the mentorship of someone that has more experience, and actually nowadays using any device and at a very competitive cost. So it is to give the opportunity to someone decided to engage in this adventure that can actually be successful with our help.
Okay, perfect. Why should a student take the CFA exam?
Well, that's a good question. Well, in short, I can give you three main reasons. Okay, first, for its credibility. Okay, as I was saying, it promotes the highest standards in financial industry, and it is an important passport for CFA candidates, which is the second reason. So, if you want to have a professional career in finance, the CFA program, the CFA designation can become like your passport. Imagine you want to go to London, you're going to go to New York, you're going to go to Singapore. I mean, you can actually have a good education in your own country, but maybe no one knows your program, no one knows that business school or that university. And actually, the CFA, it's something that is known all over the world. That would be like the third reason. It's internationally recognized in all spots of the world. Speaking about the financial world. So in more practical terms, if you want, it gives you a competitive advantage in terms of knowledge, for sure, because it's one of the most, the best designations in terms of content. So you have macroeconomics to study, you have derivatives, you have equity, you have fixed income, you have alternative investments. And then there is something real important, that is, it is always updated. So when I studied CFA, of course, I didn't have to study things like machine learning or fintech, or blockchain. But right now it is included in the syllabus. Why? Because it is constantly being updated. Okay, so it's a huge plus with respect to other kind of programs that maybe are not so up to date. So I think it also challenges yourself, okay, and it definitely improves your personal brand. You know what I mean? Your personal equity. I mean, honestly, I think that, at least I talk for me, when I see someone studying the CFA program right now, what I perceive is that person is as a hard worker. Okay, it is someone that is available to engage in such a demanding learning experience, something that is challenging, that takes time, that might lead to failure at some point. I failed my level 3 CFA exam in my first attempt, but then I got back on track and was able to success. But it is challenging, and I would say, if we think about the current context, okay, I believe there's a pre-COVID, a post-COVID, at all levels in our life, including education. Okay, so what I believe is that people probably will have to be even better prepared, because we are about to face tough times and challenging markets. So education and quality education is key. I truly believe that all things considered, the CFA program is an excellent choice for any student enrolling into the last year or finishing a bachelor's degree, for sure.
Okay, so from what I perceive, the finance market for graduates is actually very competitive, and for certain, CFA exam would help in that. Do you believe there are some extra qualifications, other things that that a student could do to further make a name for himself?
You mean like other type of studies? No?
Other type of studies, for instance, certain conventions to attend. I don't know, something that finance graduate could do
I think that
to make it easy.
honestly, I think that the key is keep learning. Now, if you ask me what I actually remind of being a student, I remind being focused on getting good results, okay, and being a constant learner, because I believe that that would make a difference in the job market. Okay, so actually, if I had to, well, I do that to my students. If I had to give some advice, is keep learning constantly. I mean, if you can attend courses, attend courses. If you engage in something like the CFA designation, that is a medium term program, because you last like 3 years, so engage in that. If you just browse the internet and look for videos or articles to read, that's okay, but always keep informed. Okay, that's something that I tell to my students. I teach, as I was saying, I teach a banking course, so sometimes I say, okay, you can come to class and I can teach you whatever it is at the syllabus, but there's this one thing that you can do by your own, that is, at minimum, please read the daily press. Like when you go into the job market and become like a junior analyst. I remember being a junior analyst, one of my main tasks at the beginning was to read the news flow constantly and be able to read it and to describe the impact it could have, in this case, in the stock market, no, in listed companies. So I would say that depending on the resources, economical resources you have, on the time you have, you should keep informed, and you should keep your you should have a roadmap of your education. So you finish one thing, you should start probably thinking, what is my next step to learn further? Okay, that would be my main advice.
Okay, thank
Actually,
you.
David, if I may, I had an experience that was pretty interesting. Talking about learning, that was studying valuation course in New York with Professor Damodaran. That is pretty famous in the finance world. And for instance, that was a good example of in terms of economic investment. Like the price of the course was kind of high, but today i'm 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 really glad that I did it, because it was a 4 or 5 day course where I learned so much. I think I learned more in 4 or 5 days with this professor, maybe with more than in a lot of courses at university, because it was so intense, because it was in NYU. It was with this professor that has a lot of experience. It tells a lot of stories, a lot of examples of the real world, and this kind of intensive workshops, if people have the opportunity, it is really, really good for improving your knowledge in a short period of time. And then internships. Okay, I think that another way of learning is doing your summer internships. Learn how the real world is. Okay, how is life when you are an analyst? You can live the experience of being a professional and being a student at the same time, and that's a good strategy to improve your skills as well. Sorry,
Oh,
go on.
yeah. No. I'm glad that you mentioned that because one of my personal fears, at least, is that both Portugal or Spain, that is relatively close to here, won't have the opportunities for me to grow in as a person in a career. So that would be my next question. Do you think that in the Iberian Peninsula there are enough good opportunities for a finance graduate to grow?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I think there are good career opportunities in the Iberian market. Okay, I mean, of course, if we refer to London or to the US, there are much more opportunities. They are bigger markets, and there are core financial markets. I think that maybe earlier in your career, you should probably embrace and try to have a job opportunity in one of those. Okay, maybe in a global bank, in one of those markets, maybe London, because in our case it is closer. But anyways, honestly, I consider that in Portugal and in Spain we still can have excellent learning experience with very well prepared professionals. I think that is there's one thing that is truly important, that is you have to know yourself, okay, and set your goals and priorities, because when years pass by, what you realize is that you have to make not only professional decisions but personal decisions as well. And this gets a little bit complicated when you become a senior and have personal issues coming into your decision. So sometimes what I mean is that what determines whether you end up working in one or country or city actually is not what you expected when you was a junior. I don't know if I explain myself. So maybe you can take the challenge not in New York or Singapore or London, but in a smaller market like Portugal or Spain. Talking by my experience, that has been by far longer on this side of the border in Spain, Madrid is not a huge financial center compared to other spots in the world, but I think it is a great place to develop your career and actually to improve your studies and your knowledge, and most importantly, to build a network of contacts that can be very valuable throughout your life. So for any Portuguese, for instance, coming to Madrid, it is easy. It's almost like living in Portugal, and maybe you have more, or for sure you have more opportunities. But I would say that you can learn a lot staying in the Iberian market, but you have to know the limitations of the markets where you are. Okay, I think that's the thing. That's why I think setting goals and priorities in your life, it is one of the key issues when you're designing your professional roadmap.
Would you say that for a student that has a bachelor, took a master, for instance, in finance, has a CFA exam, did internships, how well received is he by the outside market? Like, is it easy to go to the USA, to Singapore, to Tokyo, to London, and just start a job there?
Well, I definitely would say that it is easier to go having the CFA designation, or even one of the 3 levels of the CFA program, rather than not having them. As I was saying at the beginning, it is very well known. So it gives to job market or to recruiters a sign. Maybe it is a filter, to compare you, a benchmark to compare you to other candidates. So I think that at least, and I'm talking mostly for juniors, to have passed the CFA level 1 exam, I think it is a very good step. I can tell you something like an episode I have from my students at Finance Academy, that a lot of them tell me that when they change their profile to CFA level 1 candidate, and this means that you're actually still studying for the exam and haven't not even passed the exam, the searches, so their profile extremely increase. So people actually demand profiles that are available to engage in this type of learning experience. And matching with the thing I was saying before, it is a sign of hard working. It is a sign of someone that is willing to have this intense experience. Okay, David, are you aware that for each level it is recommended to study 300 hours to pass the exam? So to be a CFA charter holder, we are actually talking about studying something like 900 hours, or the recommended hours to pass the exam. So yeah, I would say, to answer to your question, it is easier. Yeah, I think that it could be easier to get some kind of positions, and especially if you are a junior, it works as a very positive sign to have at least passed the level 1. When you're a senior, of course, having the CFA designation opens doors for sure, and it actually leads in most of the cases to best positions and to best salary. And a lot of people are looking for that. So yeah, I think it is a very good program to have in mind.
Okay. Final question. Would you say that? Wait, sorry, the page is closed. Yeah. What would you say to our audience, especially students that have not graduated from bachelor and are searching for a master's? Why should they choose a course like finance?
I mean, like a master's in finance or a bachelor's, right?
Yeah, for instance.
Well, you know what? I think that you should actually choose whatever you love, and that seems like a cliche, but after 15 years, what I realized that is that when you do what you love, it's really easy to work. I mean, if right now that I had a great time at BPI, undoubtedly. I mean, without any doubt, I learned a lot, and I'm happy to have this experience at corporate and investment banking, and the advantages of having such a change like I had is that you take more risk, but you actually enjoy it because I changed to something that I probably love even more. So Mondays are not Mondays. You know what I mean? Like you are happy to do whatever you love. So if my advice is, if you feel like you see yourself working in banking, working with financial markets, working in a big four company, if you see yourself in that role, you have to imagine yourself in 5 or 10 years, and you are happy with what you see, you should go for that course. But not because other people think that finance is interesting or is a fancy subject to study. No, it is something personal. So you have to think long term. If you think you're going to be happy with certain role in a certain place, you should definitely study finance for the next years. That would be my advice, honestly, because doing something that you actually don't like that much won't make you happy, and most importantly, won't make you a good professional. That's my opinion.
Okay, I think that was a very good answer. Thank you, Marta, for coming in today, for talking with us. I just wanted to remind you, everyone, that Finance Academy is now our partner, and you can find out more about those conditions in our Instagram and LinkedIn pages. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, David, thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm available to answer any question. If anyone has any question about the CFA program or our training, you just have to email me, and Lisbon Investment Society can give you my contacts. It will be a pleasure to help you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.